This is the big Veganuary debate. I'm joined now by Abi Reader, who's a dairy farmer, and Scott Watkins, who's a vegan chef. Thanks for coming in. Scott, if I can start with you. As the saying goes, what's wrong with everything in moderation? Isn't this veganism just a fad, or do you think it's here to stay?
Absolutely, it's here to stay. I totally agree with that. I went vegan for my health in the first place, but I've evolved and gone vegan now for the animals, for the environment, just like you said in the intro. But it's definitely here to stay. Yeah.
But there are consequences for any diet, isn't there? I mean, a lot of the things that you might eat have to be imported. Avocados, almonds, other things like that. They're not local and they're not homegrown.
No, absolutely. I mean, you kind of limit and choose to shop local, choose to kind of eat and kind of limit the, I suppose, getting those kind of things into your diet. But there's so many options out there now.
Do you feel self-righteous doing this?
I wouldn't say I feel self-righteous. I feel like my morals align with my taste buds now. But no, I don't feel self-righteous at all.
Okay, let's bring Abi in here. He's got a point. What's wrong with trying to live a more sustainable life in this troubled world we're in? Animal farming uses up huge amounts of land and resources.
Well, I think the key argument is I'm a Welsh farmer and I would like to encourage the people of Wales or the people of Britain to eat our produce. We are a grass-growing nation, and we know that 80% of the land in Wales is only capable of growing grass, and we're very lucky that we have the sheep and the cow and the goat that can convert that food into food for us. So really what we're trying to do as a farming industry is just encourage people to support British farming, whether that be through local fruit and veg or whether that is through our fantastic meat and dairy that we can produce here.
It is fantastic, but there are more efficient ways of producing food for masses, aren't there?
Well, it depends. You can get very locked up in a carbon debate, but we can't simply replace a ton of meat with a ton of potatoes. We need to make sure that we have a very balanced diet as people in this nation, and really we need to get that information from our nutritionists. So when we are thinking about putting a meal on our plates, we need to be thinking about nutrition. A little bit further down the line, you might want to take some of the morals and the ethics that Scott has, but it is all about nutrition and balance. And the carbon debate is so complex. It's not just black and white. I don't mean that as a pun, but we're a very efficient grass-growing nation here, and we are recognised in the IPC report as being a fantastic industry.
What if Scott is right and this veganism is here to stay and we're radically going to change the way we eat? What are going to be, briefly, the consequences for your industry?
My industry will try to respond and grow food for what the population wants. I think we need to remember that in 3.1 million people in Wales, less than 1% is currently choosing a vegan diet full time. So at the minute, it's not really of commercial interest to us. I think we need to be very aware that the soil and the climate will dictate what I can grow. So I know on my farm, which isn't too far from here, if I put potatoes in the ground, they'll drown. They'll be suffocated by the soil that they grow in. I may be able to grow them basically, but commercially for people to be able to buy, it's not going to happen.
Scott, you say you care about the environment. What about Abi's environment, that farm and the way Wales looks? I mean, it's shaped by farming. If we stop farming, it's going to be a jungle.
Well, everything evolves. There's definitely other things that could be done. Like you said, it doesn't specifically need to be potatoes. There are definitely loads of other crops that are suitable to be grown in Wales. But on the fact of nutrition, I think that when it comes down to it, you can easily get everything you need from a vegan diet.
I mean, what about that? For working families on a budget, I mean, people say about this, you can do veganism, it's great, but it does take more time.
I mean, it takes a bit more time, but what's the harm in that? You're replacing
people are busy,
something.
Aren't they? I mean,
absolutely. I mean, the great thing about Veganuary nowadays is that there's so many options out there that you can have if you're busy. You can go walk into a grocery store, get a ready meal, take it home, and be ready to go. If speed is what you're after, that's something that you can easily do.
Now, I thought you'd be sworn enemies, but I am detecting a bit of sort of common ground here.
Do you know what? Scott is the most refreshing person I have met over the last 4 years who chooses a vegan diet. Usually as a farmer, if I meet somebody who says they're a vegan, quite often it comes with some very negative and quite often threatening dark sides. And it has been so refreshing to meet someone like Scott today.
Well,
and we talk about food, and that's what we're all about.
Absolutely.
Well, we've got to leave it there, but maybe you can continue this outside the studio and find a solution. Abi and Scott,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.